Leo Ascendants, this video is for you, which means if you have number 5 in the first house, or if your moon is in Leo, or if you have a cluster of planets like 3 or 4 planets conjunct in the sign of Leo, you should watch this video. The impact of what I'm going to say will be more for people who are going through Saturn Mahadasha, Jupiter Mahadasha, and the Antardasha of Saturn and Jupiter. People who are, and also the ones who are going through Rahu Mahadasha, because Rahu is in Aquarius right now. People who have their natal Saturn and natal Jupiter retrograde, which means they were born with Saturn retrograde and Jupiter retrograde, the impact will be more. If you have planets in the sign of Pisces from specially 0 to 8 degrees in the nakshatra of Uttar Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada, the impact will be 3 times to 4 times more. And especially if you're running through Antardasha and Mahadasha of those particular planets, which means if you have Sun, or if you have your Moon or Venus, Mars, Mercury in Uttar Bhadrapada, so look up your charts, or Purva Bhadrapada, the impact is going to be a lot more for those people, depending on where, how your other planets are and how your natal Saturn is, the impact is going to be more. If you're at the age of between 28 to 30, or if you're between the age of 35 to 37, the impact is going to be a lot more. Saturn maturity date. 28 to 29 is your Saturn return date. First Saturn return, your return years, which means you were born with Saturn in Pisces. Especially if you're born with Saturn in Uttar Bhadrapada itself or Purva Bhadrapada, the impact is going to be a lot more. Same thing if you're around the age of 58 to 60, your second Saturn return, the impact is going to be a lot more, especially if Saturn is in the nakshatras that I told you about. Alright, so I'm going to divide this video into 3 parts. I'm going to first talk about your career, your wealth, your finances. I will talk about your relationships next, and then I will talk about your health. But before that, let's understand what is retrograde. What happens when a planet goes retrograde? So, in basic understanding is when any planet going around the sun in its orbit, all right, it stops and it takes a step back. It moves backward, and then it again starts moving forward, goes directional, and then again goes back to its business about going around the sun. All right, that is what is retrograde. And we are observing from Earth. We are looking at all the planets with Earth as the center of the world for us. All right, but the question is this an astronomical process? Does this phenomena really happen? The answer is no. Retrograde is not an astronomical process. Planets don't stop and they do not go backwards from their orbit. Okay? Now how do we call it retrograde? It's an illusion. It's an illusion because we are observing the sky, the night sky, the solar system. We are looking at the planets and the sun and the moon and the constellations from Earth. So from Earth, it appears that Saturn is retrograde. Not just Saturn, any planet is retrograde. Okay? So let me try to explain it more with the help of this mango and this apple. So let's consider this apple is Earth and this mango is Saturn. Okay? And somewhere in the middle on this side is Sun, and the Earth is going around the sun. And the reason I'm not moving Saturn is because Saturn is very slow moving. Alright, so what Earth does in 1 year, so this is 1 year, Saturn does in 29.5 years. Alright, so by the time Saturn is moved from here to here, Earth has taken few circles of the sun. Alright, so retrograde, what is happening on July 13th is when Earth in its orbit is overtaking Saturn. This movement, all right? The moment it overtakes, so on July 13th, it's exactly here. And then as the months go by, August, September, it is moved forward. So this overtaking of Earth, of Saturn, in its orbit gives us an illusion, an optical illusion that the planet is retrograde, which means if you're sitting on a train, moving train, and you're looking outside the window, and there is a stationary train out, on the other railway track, may not be stationary, maybe moving very slowly, maybe that train just started moving and just took off from the platform, but your train is going at 100 miles or 80 miles an hour. Okay, it appears that the slow moving train that you're looking at from your window, or the stationary train, is moving backwards, but it is not moving backwards in reality. It is an illusion. All right. So now that we've understood the astronomy behind retrograde, let's look at the impact. So impact, obviously, like I said, the distance becomes very close, which means Earth, it's overtaking. So let's consider Earth is here, very far away, in its orbit around the sun. All right. The impact is not so much, but the moment Earth is trying to overtake Saturn, right, it is close to Saturn. So the impact of retrograde planets is a lot more. It's said to be 3 times more. So let's try to understand how it will impact your career and your finances. So let me tell you in short, Leos, this is going to be a turning point in your career. Hopefully for the good, especially for people who have a very strong Jupiter in their chart, strong Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn is well placed in their chart. This particular retrogression of Saturn will connect the Leos back to what they were supposed to do in their lives, their pending karma. So if you are having trouble at work, if you're having thoughts of quitting your job, slow down, just like how Saturn has slowed down in its illusionary retrogression. Okay, it is a time to take a step back. Exactly what Saturn does. It stops, it goes back. So not everything that we accomplish in our lives goes into that linear graph from A to B, and it's always a steep climb up. It is like ups and downs, ups and downs. So this is the time to take a step back and reevaluate what you want to do and who you really are. Right? This is a great time for contemplation, a change of career. For some people, they will get their dream job, their promotion. Some will become fantastic entrepreneurs. And others could be completely lost, especially the younger ones. All right, because Saturn, especially if you're between the age of 28 and 29, it's just Saturn return. That means you were born with Saturn in Pisces. And look at the placement here. Saturn is in your 8th house, transiting in your 8th house. Ketu is transiting in your 1st house. So there is transformation of not just your career, of you as a human being. Jupiter transiting in your 11th house, looking at your 7th house. All right. So all the planetary placements, especially Saturn going retrograde, I believe these 138 days, it's time for you to understand who you really are. It's a time to contemplate and try to align yourself, try to understand where Saturn, depending on where Saturn is in your natal chart, Saturn is going to give you the same vibrations. So which means if your Saturn is very strong, let's consider if you have exalted Saturn in the 3rd house in the sign of Libra, Saturn is going to, and if you've always been employed in your life, so Saturn is going to look at Libra. Saturn is going to give you vibrations from Libra, 3rd house vibration, that you are supposed to do something in the business, something to do with creativity. Especially Venus rule governing your 10th house. Okay. So observe the placement of Saturn in your natal chart and see what Saturn is trying to align you into. And this whole idea of getting into occult, see, 8th house is the house of research, analysis, occult. Sudden transformations can be seen. So people could suddenly get laid off. People could suddenly get a promotion, an unexpected promotion. Business owners can suddenly see an up move. Suddenly you will see your business is multiplying, especially if Rahu is involved as well. Okay, because Rahu is in your 7th house, in the sign of Aquarius, which is governed by Saturn. There could be some kind of a pending karma towards your business partner and your business. So there is change which is definite. And how you will make the best of this change is by being very, very patient, by being very organized and structured, which means if you're Saturn, if you have people depending on you, if you have loans to pay, if you have bills to pay, you don't have a plan B, and that's the only source of income that you have. That is your 9 to 5 job, probably in a financial organization. This is not the time to go ask your manager for a salary raise or get into a conflict or an argument with your senior colleagues and your manager. You will lose your job. You could see organizational changes, major organizational changes in your workplace. You could be, there could be change in your manager. You could be reporting to a different manager, or your team could change. Your line of work could change completely during this time. Fantastic time to learn something new, especially anything to do with occult research, people who are into research work. Great time to be spiritual, isolated, meet people who are only adding value, get a new guru, learn Vedic astrology. On that note, I'm starting a course. So if you're interested, I'm not trying to market it, but yes, it is resonating with your 8th house, because 8th house, you see Saturn in your 8th house in the sign of Pisces. 8th house is Vedic astrology, knowledge of the unknown. All right. Rahu in your 7th house can open up doors for business partnerships. So the ones who are into business, especially to do with IT, technology, social media, and who are collaborating with people from foreign lands, this could be a fantastic time for you if your Rahu is well placed. Okay. So this is definitely a turning point, and I hope it's a good one. And the ones who are facing transformation at work, let me tell you, it is for your good, and Saturn is trying to align you with who you really are. All right, now let's look at relationships. Now relationship, again, Saturn governs your 7th house, and Rahu is already there. So what does it tell you? It is not the best time for relationship, although retrograde Saturn and transit Saturn right now is forming a Viparit Raj Yoga, which means you could strengthen your bond with your partner. There could be a person that could be an ex-wife or an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend, ex-husband. You could reconnect with that particular person. Okay, if you meet someone new, this person could be from your past life, and there is some pending karma with this person. So Leos, be very, very careful. Rahu and Saturn both consider Leo and Sun. Leo is your ascendant and Sun is your Lagna Lord. Both of them consider Sun and Leo as its enemy. So in most cases, those people who will come to in your life during this particular time, especially in these 138 days, have pending karma, and not very pleasant pending karma. They may want to take something from you. I'm not saying they are evil people. They might be really great people, but not everyone good is your friend in this lifetime. We meet friends and enemies from our past lives. So just because they are your enemy doesn't mean they are evil people. All right, but their karma in this life may be to take something from you, either financially or emotionally. All right, so be very careful. I do not recommend, especially if you're going through Rahu Mahadasha, Antardasha, Saturn Antardasha, Mahadasha, Ketu Mahadasha, Antardasha. I do not recommend marriage, especially when Saturn is retrograde. The ones who are married, you need to be very, very mindful about your relationship, because it could break your relationship right now. There could be some pending karma with your spouse's family, with your in-laws. So be very, very careful how you communicate with your spouse, and especially their family. Okay, watch the other videos. I've made videos on Ketu. See, Ketu is very, very important for the Leos right now, because it's passing over Leo. So watch my Ketu transit video. All right, especially if you're going through Antardasha of Ketu or Mahadasha of Ketu, or your natal Ketu is in Leo. Okay, now Saturn from there, from your 8th house, can give you sudden, I've already mentioned, it can give you sudden inheritance. Your spouse could get a lot of wealth during this time, and so can you. Your joint wealth with your spouse could be improved, and you could gain from there. All right. Now about your health, this is not the best time for your health. So it's time to join the gym. It's time to do yoga. It's time to spend in isolation and in contemplation and meditate. Channelize your aggression. All right. It's time to focus on higher knowledge. It's time to focus on understanding who you are. It is time to spend in the gym looking after your bodies. It is time to get into a fitness program. Okay, there could be injuries in the lower back, so watch out for that. Injuries in the neck and the head related area. Okay, so these are the two body parts that you should watch out for. Otherwise, overall, when you look at the transits holistically, I'm not just talking about retrograde Saturn, about Jupiter, Rahu. It is from the money making point of view, from expanding yourself, your horizons, from the business, from the career point of view, from getting to know who you are, transforming yourself, losing your vices, losing your ego, losing all your negative traits. This is a great time for you to become a better, stronger human being, to work on your personality. Okay, right, that's all I have. I'm going to mention my course again. The ones who are interested in learning Vedic astrology, it's a 3-month course every Sunday starting from July 27th. So please get in touch with me and my team and the information provided. If you have any experiences to share, please mention in the comments so that the other Leos can benefit from it. If you have if you like this video, hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. If you need a consultation, my information is right here. I will talk to you soon. I wish you all the best, Leos. Bye-bye. Take care.